Hey friends, Kevin here, and continuing our minivan brand series on which ones to buy and which ones to avoid if you're going to use one of these for van life to turn into your camper van. Today we're going to do Kia and Hyundai. Now, to get this out of the way real quick, Kia and Hyundai are technically two different companies, but Hyundai owns part of Kia, and Kia owns a bunch of stuff that has to do with Hyundai. So generally, they're making most vehicles under both names, and the vehicles are very similar except for maybe the design of the front grille and a few other little things. So we're going to be talking about this Kia Sedona minivan that's been sold in North America, but you're also going to get into the Hyundai version that was sold for a couple of years. And those Hyundai Entourage vans are going to be the same as the Kia Sedonas, year for year being the same. So let's get to each generation, some differences, and what you want to stay away from. Now, there is probably something I have done in every one of these vehicles that's made somebody mad, because they'll have one that I say not to buy, and I had great luck with it, and I'm glad for them. But I'm trying to steer people away from known problems with known vehicles, because every brand has had some duds over the years. And let me give you some history on Kia and Hyundai. Kia came to the United States around 94 and 95 with some cars. And the first minivan, I think, was done around 98. And early Kias and Hyundais were junk. That is just reality. They were cheap vehicles. People bought them, as they tend to do, because they could save a couple $1,000s over another comparable vehicle. And they just had lots of problems. They had lots of mechanical problems in the early years. And they tended to hit the junkyards pretty early. Now, with that said, the first generation of minivans for Kia were put into this country between 98 and 2005. Run from these. I cannot say this any nicer. If you are looking for an older minivan, and if your budget puts you into these years, buy pretty much any other brand, because if you buy these, you're probably going to regret it. They were absolutely horrid. Now, the second generation that started in 2006, and they did this is not only with their minivans, this is with their cars. The Kia and Hyundai have a very good reputation now. And starting with this second generation of minivans, they made good vehicles that had good crash ratings and had good maintenance records. They managed to turn this around between the last couple of years of that first generation of vehicles and this second generation. So you can be pretty confident in buying a Kia from 2006 to roughly 2014 that second generation entails. And mixed into that from 2009, maybe the next 3 or 4 years, again was the Hyundai Entourage, which is basically the same as the Kia minivan. You have a third generation that started in 2015, and you have what's going to be the new fourth generation that's going to be 2020, 2021 models. A lot of people buy Kias and Hyundais because of the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranties when they're buying a new vehicle. You have to remember that Kia and Hyundai started doing this when their vehicles were absolute dogs, because that was almost the only way they could sell them. But amazingly, they did turn those problems around from the early days. So again, to make this as simple as possible, if it's 2005 and earlier, walk away from it. Run away from it. avoid it. Avoid it at all costs. If it's from 2006 up, you should have a good vehicle, assuming that the previous owners have maintained it well. And again, this is why you want to do investigations. It's dependent on what your level of mechanical knowledge is. If you're looking at buying a secondhand vehicle, it is worth going to a mechanic that you can trust. And it is worth having them put this thing on a rack, putting it through a few tests, and pay that mechanic for his time, $20, $40, whatever, to do this. In addition, with anything I am looking to buy, I pull a Carfax on. And a lot of people disagree with me on this. I've mentioned this in some other videos. When I go and look at a vehicle, once I have the price where I want it, I'm going to be comfortable with, then I'm going to do extensive test driving on it. If I'm buying it from a private party, I let them know, hey, I'm going to take this out, I'm going to run it by a garage. It may be an hour or two before I come back, because I don't want them thinking I run away with their vehicle. And of course, I'm going to leave my vehicle there. But I am going to do, once I have negotiated a price, I am going to do all the tests and make sure that it is what it's supposed to be and there are no serious problems. And when I'm to that point that I'm ready to go buy the vehicle, the last thing I do is spend the $30 on a Carfax, because it's going to give me much more information other than just, has this ever been in a wreck and is the mileage on the odometer correct. Carfaxes used to be really cheap. You used to be able to pull one of these for $10 or $12. Now it's around $30, but it gives you a lot more information, because in this age of computers, just about all the work that has been done by dealerships, and even a lot of stuff that has been done by independent garages, will get recorded and will show up maintenance-wise on these Carfax reports. So you'll be able to see things like when brake jobs were done, and just oil changes, and you will see when other things went out along the way. So you may see information on there of when an alternator was replaced, or when a starter was replaced, or something that you would want to know about, because those are things that can go out on vehicles at any time. And it helps me out to know, if I'm buying a vehicle, if the starter was replaced 2 years before that, that's great. It should be many, many years before I have to worry about that. But it will also alert you to other things that may be going on. If you see where a vehicle has been in 5 or 6 times in a year or two's time for brakes and rotors, that tells you there's an issue with that particular vehicle. Or if it's had to have alignments done over and over and over again, that'll tell you there may be an issue with that particular vehicle you're looking at. The other thing is engine work and transmission work. If you start seeing a bunch of that, you can figure, hey, this vehicle may have been either driven hard, poorly maintained by the owner, or it may just be a lemon. And if I see a lot of those problems, that may make me walk away from the vehicle. If I don't see those problems, then I'm confident in going ahead and buying that vehicle. If this is the first video like this you've seen and you just stumbled into this channel, we do a lot of van life and travel stuff and how to do van builds. And there's videos on all the different brands. I'm going to put a link in the description down to the playlist, because we've done stuff on Chevrolet and Dodge and Honda and Toyota and all kinds of different brands now. So depending on what brand you decide on, or what brand you happen to be looking at, again, you'll know which ones you can feel confident in and which ones have some problems that you want to just run away from. If you have owned one of these Kia or Hyundai minivans in the past, I'd love to know your experiences with them. Did you have good luck? Did you have bad luck? And of course, tell us what year of vehicle that you had. And if you had problems, what kind of problems you had out of it. Because you may have owned one of these 5 or 10 years ago, long before you thought about doing anything with van life or making a camper van out of it. But there's a lot of people right now that are looking for used vehicles to turn into their first camper van. And you commenting down below, because people do read through these comments, may help them make a decision. It may reinforce something I said about things being good or bad. Again, always feel free to ask questions. Never hesitate to let me know what I can do that will help you out with van life or your van build or something you're trying to do, turning a vehicle into a camper, and we'll talk soon.